Hello. Today's June 3rd. We're doing business and robots. We're going to pretend to care about this as the country crumbles around us. Hooray.
We're hanging in there.
For now.
You know, it's times like these, I think it's important that we continue to talk about Western Digital.
I thought you were going to say maintain a routine.
Well, who has a routine anymore? But Western Digital, as we know, did something very nefarious and
very naughty.
For a while, it looked like they might get away with it, but perhaps not.
Western Digital gets sued for sneaking shingled magnetic recording discs into its NAS channel. WD clearly underestimated the consumer outrage they'd face over SMR discs. What's just Western Digital? That's the thing I keep driving home. It looks like, Western Digital, Seagate, Toshiba, they all sort of added SMR discs to their lineup in places you wouldn't expect them. But they've been sued. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, I'll go out on a limb here and say that shingled magnetic recording, like some of these drives, actually perform way worse than I would expect for shingled magnetic recording because, just copying a file to a blank drive performs much worse than I would expect it to, which is supposed to be like the shingled magnetic recording use case. The drive should be able to handle that, but it doesn't seem to be able to in any kind of reasonable way.
They did point out that only Western Digital went as far as to put it in a NAS drive.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's no official word, but people have been reporting success that if you angrily call Western Digital and you own one of these, you will get a non-SMR replacement free of charge.
We didn't tell you to do that.
Tearing it up.
But you should go do that.
If enough people do, it might be like an Equifax situation. They'll stop supporting it. But
or Western Digital goes under.
Or maybe you won't get to be part of this class action suit. You probably have to, agree to never bring this up again. We'll see.
Oops, sorry, bad.
The one bright spot, perhaps, in this last week is an amazing human accomplishment. And we were just talking about it, and I said, it's like when I was watching this stream, I was thinking to myself, if these astronauts die, that's it for the country. We're just going to kill each other because it's too much. It's too much for us right now. It will push us over this very precarious precipice that we stand upon.
Doesn't that mean that precipice depends on Elon Musk in some way?
What a dark. I bet he was furious because this was like his time to shine.
Yeah.
Like it was his greatest moment, and nobody's watching it. Everybody's watching Wendy's burn down.
Yeah. Light this candle. SpaceX sends NASA astronauts on historic trip to space in the Dragon capsule. They dock with the space station just as we recorded the news. So, yay, successful docking procedures. Yay, successful launch. Everybody was watching. It was a live stream. A lot of amazing things happening. It really is cool for manned spaceflight. It's been 9 years. So, but there was a little bit of bad news.
One thing that struck me about this, though, is the console for that shuttle.
There's nothing.
It's all touchscreens.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't that seem very dangerous and like a bad... Like, how often did the screens go out on the Enterprise?
A lot.
And then you have no controls? You don't have any manual controls? I think that's a bad idea. Because they showed I saw a picture where they showed the progression from all of the different instrument panels. And it's like, ooh, this one seems like if it fails, you've got nothing.
That was one of the cool things about the Enterprise, though, is that, like, if you needed to control the con from, like, Science 2, you could totally do that.
And maybe they do have, like, a backup system somewhere. I don't know. I mean, but that jumped out at me as like, oh, poor UI choice.
Yeah.
Plus, you're wearing gloves, right? Like thick gloves. And you're just like
pawing
mashing the screen.
Yes, but as you alluded to, not everything went well. Although I got to say, this is probably not that big a deal considering what they've accomplished.
Yeah.
This could have prevented the death of the astronauts the next time around. Like, you want this. This is the time for this to happen.
Yes. SpaceX's Starship SN4 launch vehicle prototype explodes after a static engine fire test. Now, the article doesn't really go into a lot of details, but based on this article and some other stuff that I read, it seems like the test went well. Like that it succeeded in the test, and then they just left it on the tarmac or whatever, and then it exploded.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's interesting.
So, like, somebody just forgot to turn the oxygen off or something?
That would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
And Musk, that was not the only nice thing about his week. He also got some other really good news. Of course, he knew it was coming, but it's hard to be upset about this number.
Elon Musk earns his first performance-based payout from Tesla worth more than $700 million. Remember when we were joking about the Tesla stocks being $420 and it was like around $300 at the time, and now it's like $900 because it's insane?
$350 is the strike price for these options. It's currently at $800. So
Wow.
all he has to do is now he cannot sell those stocks
For 5 years.
for 5 years. So that's a little bit tricky, but still, could he sell those options on the market? Probably not. They're like preferred options, right?
It's if he makes the company to where that it's worth $750 million, he gets something like another $100 billion.
You know, either
or
way,
$750 million.
I think he's going to do okay.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be all right. I think that son of his is going to have a pretty easy life.
Although this article mentioned that he's worth like $37 billion, but he currently has $18 billion in debt, which I thought was a higher number than I expected.
But he's selling off all of his properties and stuff.
Surely that's not worth billions of dollars.
He's got a lot
If
of
he
them.
lives in like California, it probably is.
Quite a bit of them.
Here's my 1-bedroom bungalow. It's $1.3 billion.
Yeah.
But again, look at the
True.
numbers we're talking about. You know, it's still more than 10 billion, right?
They're so abstract. Like I hear that number and I'm like, I can't even imagine what I'd do.
I mean,
with
what's
that
the
kind
state of Kentucky got?
It's got us. So-
It's
What's-
priceless.
All the money in the world couldn't buy that. Totally could. The possibly one of the saddest stories of the week is you're already number 2 and you're pretty far in number 2. Like you can't really, like, you see SpaceX, but it's just a 1 pixel.
It's just
like,
1 pixel. In the
what is that?
distance.
That's what. And then you also get some bad news.
Virgin Orbit's first orbital test flight cut short after rocket released from carrier aircraft. So the headline makes you think, oh, the rocket was not supposed to be released. No, everything went fine. They didn't say what the problem was. That it was released from the aircraft, and then something wasn't right, so that immediately returned to Earth or whatever.
But it was able to burn.
Yeah.
So I don't know what went wrong, but I guess this went right into the ocean and
Oops.
never to be seen again.
Dang it, Bobby.
Gone forever.
It's kind of weird to go back to talking about the pandemic, right? That news is so old at this point.
I'm down to like 4 N95 masks, and I've made each mask last over a week.
Yeah, but I mean, people are just going real loose with the masks.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, just hang a piece of cloth in front of your face. Don't even bother fastening it or anything like that.
I'll just put my
Or
shirt
just
up around my...
strap it under your chin.
There we
and
go,
stick it
I'm good.
over your nose.
But it is still going on, and certain items are still very, very hard to get. Now, Amazon has these rules about not marking things up, but if you're an Amazon seller, you will find interesting ways around that.
Amazon sellers are marking products as collectible to get around price gouging rules. Apparently, the algorithm and/or review process says, "Oh, this is a collectible N95 mask." Well, I mean, it's fine if you want to charge $100 a mask. Then,
Well, of course, who doesn't have a wonderful collection of dumbbells on display in their home?
it talks about how these went from like $300 to $1,200, suspiciously similar to the stimulus check amount here in the U.S.
Pretty crazy.
Weird.
And of course, who doesn't love to collect inflatable hot tubs?
$1,400. That seems excessive.
Why is that in demand for the pandemic?
Wouldn't it be sad if this is a sign of like?
Because you can't go
horrible
anywhere
inflation?
else, I guess. Like,
Do you really want to boil in a stew of virus with your friends?
Yes.
absolutely, yeah. That's like top of my list right now.
I guess if you've been, like you can't get out and date, an evening in a virus-filled hot tub with strangers might seem kind of appealing.
I picked up some lunch today, and I got to drive through the local like strip mall area, and there were a lot of people that were not social distancing or wearing masks.
Did you scream at them?
I really wanted to roll down my window and just, but
What are you doing?
yeah, I resisted.
Lowe's was like 50-50 yesterday. I had to go get some dirt. And I had a mask on, and like maybe 50% of the people there had one on. I
And
saw
fi-
one lady chewing a pen that she had just had in the cart.
Delicious. And finally, collectible, of course, bread makers.
Oh, collectible bread maker.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah. So, unfortunate that just by flagging it as collectible, you get past the gouging thing, so the algorithm is not able to identify that. But I bet it will be next week. Amazon also, because of the pandemic, they had their big hiring boost, which did not social distance at all. Remember those pictures?
Yeah.
And it turns out that business must still be pretty damn good, because they're like, hey, you know what? All these people that we hired temporarily, we need them forever.
Amazon to offer permanent roles to 70% of 175,000 new U.S. hires. This is it from Reuters. Amazon's not really saying that, like, they're pretty tight-lipped about this, but they're just saying, oh, we don't really expect demand to go down, blah, blah, blah. I think this means that mom and pop are not coming back. And there's some other articles that talk about how, people kind of don't like online grocery shopping, but I think that it's like for the grocery shopping, it's probably a hybrid approach. For things that you need, it's perfectly fine to have sent via delivery, like toilet paper, water, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, what meals am I going to have? Am I going to pick specific ingredients like that going in person? Okay, maybe.
I was at Chick-fil-A yesterday. They're now doing a take-home frozen meal. For $15, you get chicken parmesan with Chick-fil-A chicken.
How many people does it serve?
For $15, probably 2 or 3, right?
I would hope it would be at least 4, but yeah.
Interesting. I didn't get it, but I thought that was an interesting thing. And this article, it's a lot to say what actually was the headline that I clicked on, which is the number of people who have actually died from the Amazon workforce, which I guess any number is too high from the virus. I mean, not, of course, then there's that whole thing. It's like, do they rule it virus even when it's not these days? But the number, it's not crazy, really.
It's 8. He was part of Amazon's hiring spree, but 2 weeks later he died. This guy was 63. He was just biding his time until he was 65.
Biden.
Until he could retire and collect his retirement benefits. And Amazon was one of the few places willing to hire a 63-year-old because, let's face it, when you're that old, there is a lot of ageism. A lot of ageism.
Look how dark and sinister this picture is.
Kudos to the photographer.
So yeah, that went a long way to talk about. Now, he was part of that big hiring bonanza. And then he was like, oh, I'm so happy I can work at Amazon until I retire. And no.
Yeah, it seems it insinuates that he became infected during the hiring jamboree, because it was a 2-week, it was literally 2 weeks from the hiring jamboree until he didn't make it.
But if they hired, let's see, it's 175,000, but then there was another, so it was 225 total, right?
But some of those people haven't worked out.
50,000, which again, I was going to make that comment. Like, if Amazon's like, all right, you know what? We don't need you anymore. And you read that article, you're like, oh, I'm the bottom 30%.
Yeah.
They've got the metrics to know, too. It's like so, but here's the other thing, too. It's like that 63-year-old, he's not going to be the fastest picker. You've got to be better than him.
You get that notification, and you're like, I'm not even a D student. This is really bad. And Amazon, their in-home assistants have actually blown up because of the pandemic. I guess people want robots to replace the socialization that they once had. But that is a fast-moving world, and some of those little assistants have to be left behind.
Amazon will no longer support the Echo Look, encourages owners to recycle theirs. The Echo Look, in case you've forgotten what that is, it was a camera and screen where you turn it on and Amazon would recommend clothes for you, and it would give you like this sort of AR thing on a display showing you wearing the clothes that you could then just order from Amazon by saying, okay, let's order those clothes. People didn't like it, apparently.
Well, I don't know if people didn't like it, but apparently the app does it now. So you can just take a selfie and the same AI will
figure it out.
So you don't need a device for that.
So you can know exactly what to buy every season.
But this is,
every week.
It does showcase it probably gives you Amazon links, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they have like high fashion on Amazon? I would think that's kind of utilitarian.
They probably do.
Well, Amazon Basics are utilitarian, but there's other brands on Amazon as well. I'm sure you could pay to play and have your stuff featured on this app.
But this points out the whole Internet of Things danger. It's not just that they're not supporting it anymore. They're not updating it. They're turning off the server. So you have a useless camera at that point.
It's probably horribly infected, and they're like, you know what? Let's just turn it off. We can't patch this. It's running Exum.
They also, as you might imagine, are drowning in cash at this point. And you got to figure out something to do with it.
Amazon in advanced talks to buy the self-driving car tech company Zoox. Well, gad Zoox. Amazon is, of course, thinking self-driving delivery vans. Because why not?
Everybody's got to be in self-driving. It's going to be a stock deal, and I mean, $3.2 billion. But do you even miss it?
No, that's a drop in the. I mean, $3.2 billion is like one day's toilet paper order out of just one warehouse.
Those 50,000 people that we're gonna fire and not give health care to paid for Zoox.
Makes you feel good.
Not only are you in the bottom 30%, this self-driving startup is worth more than you are. It's like,
We're trading you not for a robot, but for the possibility of a robot, the idea of a robot. And Amazon, among all of this, is getting a bit of a PR hit. People are kind of angry, especially with the whole mom and pop thing. I mean, it is a double standard. As much as I use Amazon, as much as I love them, you can't argue that's not a double standard. Some people were forced out of business, and Amazon selling the same products was not.
not only were they not forced out of business, they are doing record business.
Yes.
It's like people look at that, and intrinsically you look at that situation and you're like, something is not right about this situation.
If Amazon and the U.S. government were walking down the beach, the period of the pandemic would only have one set of footprints. So anyway, what do you do about that? You got to fight it somehow, right? You got to get good PR. So what do? You buy it.
Local news stations run propaganda segments scripted and produced by Amazon. At least 11 TV stations aired an identical segment written and produced by Amazon's PR team. Yeah, you should watch the video, because I was like, propaganda, that's a little strong. And then I watched the video and it was like, oh yeah, nope, I don't think propaganda is strong enough.
They also point out in this article that when they pitch to the reporter, they make it seem like that reporter works for the news station. No, that is an Amazon PR person. And this was clearly like everything was, when they gave them that advertising money, they were like, you will say this, you will use this inflection. This will be the number of syllables.
It's just like
they layered the videos over each other, and like it was very clear, like they were exactly the same.
That was like the Sinclair broadcasting thing. So like these people are practiced at doing that. How much of that is like, my world's not even real?
The local news is just, it's terrifying.
It's terrifying that we are more real than the local news, and that's like something has gone wrong somewhere in society.
And it's just because nobody will give us any money.
Thanks, Linode.
Come on, Amazon. You'll say whatever you want. I've been watching the CBS affiliate, Minneapolis, for the protests. And it is funny because it seems like the humanity it's a weird contrast. Like the anchors are robots, but the guys in the street, because they were the only ones willing to go do that, are like actual real humans, because they don't usually let them on TV. And it's like, oh, this is really refreshing.
So what you're telling me is the Ron Burgundy thing is real? Like once he's in teleprompter mode?
Yeah.
Just read whatever's on there.
And also, the CBS local Minneapolis got the male anchor. Oh, he will not shut up. And like the girl keeps like trying to start talking, and he just runs over, and I just want to punch him. Come on, man. It's your time to shine.
It's like us with Krista. I'm sorry, Krista.
Krista's right now, she's on a delay. So
yeah,
like,
someone was mentioning that in like Reddit and was like, oh, you know, they're always talking over her, and it's not normal. I think it's just because of the stream thing.
Yeah, it's
weird.
Things should be back to normal in a week or two, maybe, possibly, if Krista doesn't plan to visit any family members. Or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Well, was that your lead into this story?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a little bit more than a week or two, more like 4 weeks for some of the larger companies. Now, it's funny because Google reported that they might not come back for the entire year. And in fact, not everybody will. But if you want to.
Yeah. Google to begin reopening offices July 6th, will let workers expense up to $1,000 for equipment, including laptops, chairs, desks, whatever, while telecommuting. The return will be gradual, starting at about 10% building capacity, CEO Sundar Pichai says. So 10% by July 6th, but only 30% by September. So what does that tell you about where this situation is going?
What's your $1,000 expense? What do you buy?
Probably chair.
Just one chair? Just like a really nice chair?
Yeah, probably a steel case. Well, chair, and then like everything else would be less expensive than the chair, but the chair would probably be like 60-70% of that.
I noticed that webcams are coming down.
The factories in China are just running 24/7 shifts producing.
They're all getting sick, and that's
Meanwhile, as Google comes back or tries to come back, I think they've realized that in the advertising world, that business has not come back.
No.
And unfortunately, for a lot of people who, got that golden ticket in the mail, they're like, I'm going to go to work at Google.
No.
It's not such good news.
The New York Times is reporting that Google has rescinded the offers to thousands and thousands of contract workers. The company made the cost-cutting move as it navigates a slump in income, basically. So Google had already extended employment offers to a lot of contractors, and they're just saying, well, with the situation that we're in and not coming back to work, we're just not ready to onboard you at this time. We'll keep you in mind for the future. Don't worry.
They did point out that some people probably left jobs to prepare. And what if you bought property?
Yeah, in the valley.
Yeah.
And you're trying to flip it at a time when the exodus is happening.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that have already left the valley. Like I read a couple of really good stories about people that had worked in an office in like San Francisco, and they just moved out to like Utah or somewhere, and they're like, this is a 6-month rental, blah blah blah. But for 6 months of rent in a much larger house than they had in San Francisco, they're able to have it's 6 months for like 1 month equivalent or something like that. And they're like,
listen, I'm looking at property farther out at this point. I'm like, man, maybe that's like a good option.
Well, if you could get Elon Musk's satellite internet, but in Utah they pointed out that it was fiber because it was so flat, it's so easy to run fiber that you can be out in the middle of nowhere, and they got fiber, and that was literally the only thing for the house that they were looking for is like, can I get fiber?
Internet,
I can. Yeah, it's like, is there a grocery store nearby? Is there a hardware store nearby? It's like, can I actually live here? Yep. All right, great. And
listen, there's a Dollar General everywhere.
Yeah.
So they've filled the gaps completely.
That's not a bad way to live if you can get good internet.
There's a lot of brands missing from the Dollar General lineup, but like once a month you go to Costco.
Well, they talked about how it's like, even if the company demands that we return to work in a month, it's not a big deal because the cost of living there is so low compared to San Francisco. Not having that expense of San Francisco, he's like, I'm able to like save for retirement now. It's like, wow.
Now, I have not really, I'm aware of the QAnon phenomenon, but I've not really followed it. Have you?
No.
I understand.
I had a lot of trouble following this.
I know that it's pro-Trump, very, very pro-Trump, and it's kind of like a cryptic foreshadowing, right?
I got that it was just somebody that would post random things on 4chan under the name Q, and sometimes it was way off, but mostly it was just conspiracy theory.
Well, it was sort of like predictions, but based on, and then later you come back and it's sort of like a horoscope, right? People would take one and start connecting the dots, when there wasn't maybe any connection with the dots. But it's so vague, you could sort of script your own reality.
Yeah. The human brain will find patterns even when there are none.
Exactly. So, Google, not a fan.
Google removes those apps from the Play Store for violating terms. The article goes on to list several apps, but they remove those for violating the terms because it promotes harmful information or misinformation.
Plus,
the app's got a little too popular.
It's my understanding that QAnon is anonymous, right? No one knows who it is.
Yeah.
But some of these were paid apps, so there's a paper trail somewhere there. So this makes me think this is not the QAnon. This is just some...
All roads lead to Alex Jones.
It's just a very entrepreneurial person saying, hey, I'll summarize this stuff, pop it on the Play Store, get my $1.
Yeah.
Somebody was following his tank truck thing in the protests in one of the cities. I was like, oh, Alex is here. And they had drone footage of like the low-flying consumer drone footage.
I didn't see him at which city? I guess he was in Texas. Did they riot in Texas?
I don't even know where it was. I just watched the video and I was like, this is creepy. It was just him driving down the road.
People were very upset about the Joe Rogan thing last week. I had to block another person on Twitter. Listen, I don't care about your personality worshipping bullshit. Don't involve me with it on Twitter. Or it's like, oh no, other person that I follow said that wasn't real. No one said it was real. I said Alex Jones said. And he did say, I know he said it because I watched it.
Twitter's for cat pictures.
And watching the revolution in real time.
Yeah, so don't involve me in that nonsense. Anyway, TV. This kind of feels weird because it's sort of like we're taking a supercharger, like a technology that would go on an automobile, and they're like, man, this makes cars faster. Let's put it on this dying horse.
Comcast Charter and ViacomCBS join forces to make TV commercials more targeted. Okay, you may be thinking, it's like, how do they make TV commercials more targeted? Well, I've got some news for you. You haven't really been watching TV all these years. It's IP TV. It's an internet protocol service. So if they want to have your box play a different commercial than somebody else's box, the technology for that has existed for about 10 years. It's just that these companies are asleep at the helm, don't understand technology, don't understand what consumers want, and they just haven't actually done it until now.
But the cord cutting numbers.
Yeah, it's only going to accelerate that.
And how much the return on investment already couldn't be great.
Nope.
Although I would say the people that are still watching TV are probably the most susceptible to commercials.
Yeah,
So-
the elderly.
Mom's Emerald air fryer definitely confirms that.
Oh my God.
Has she been using it? Has she been
Nope.
using it?
It's
Aw.
just a constant barrage of
Yeah.
like those copper cookware things. Like,
Yeah.
I need these. And it's like, do you use those? No, those are terrible.
Mom, Emerald is not going to love you if you buy his air fryer. It's not going to come to you. It's not going to come to your house and cook you food like that. It's just not going to happen. She's like,
Store.level1text.com.
We will love you.
it's very sad.
We will.
Very sad.
Or if you go to Patreon, Crystal will draw you a picture.
That is actually one of the rewards.
It is. I gotta check this month. I think we have a few people who might be eligible for that.
Yes.
You have to give us a ridiculous amount of money. I wouldn't recommend anybody do it, but it's there.
But it is there, yeah. You might want
Uber.
to save your money right now if you're in the U.S.
Uber is one of these companies that is suffering greatly. What was interesting? When I was watching the protest, I saw a lot of Lime bikes in some of those cities.
Yeah.
Probably got set on fire. And Uber did their own destruction, not related to the protests.
Uber destroyed thousands of bikes and scooters. And so there's a video here that's very upsetting of like just a bunch of these bikes just being turned into slag. And somebody said, hey, couldn't you have gotten more use out of those than just turning them into slag in a giant crushing machine? There was never
Couldn't
really
you have
any.
donated them or like sold them or anything other than just destroying them?
Their excuse, and I kind of understand this, was there is no commercial charging apparatus for these. And I can totally see some idiot breaking that battery down,
And
dying
himself,
from
yeah.
it, and suing Uber. Like, that is the darkness that we live in. So, now I'm sure you could give, like a nonprofit or something and be like, hey, come up with a solution. Here's these bikes. And they could sell them for like $25 a piece to pay for whatever.
I wonder, some fabulously wealthy venture capitalists probably funded that. Like, I wonder if that's an employment opportunity. It's like, look, for a very small, modest monthly fee, I can advise you before you invest in things like that to don't do it.
No, because they feel like that's their skill. Like, I can pick these winners, son. You don't know anything about it.
I think when we did the Level 1 news, when they first announced that this would be a thing, it's like, this is not going to work.
Well, some other company took it over. They're still trying to do it. But these were now they do have current bikes, and they're still using those. These were the previous generation bikes. So, but if every generation you have to shred your bikes, what kind of business model is that? These are bicycles. The
So
fundamental bicycle has not changed for a century.
I think they talked about how the UK was still using the red model, the jump model or whatever. And so it's like, well, it could have been spare parts for those people at least.
Oh, destroy them. Can't make a profit on them. Not interested.
The ACLU will, ACLU, I definitely have a love-hate relationship with them because on one hand, they're always doing great stuff like this, but on the other hand, they're just knee-deep in that identity politics garbage that's just disgusting. But you got to give them a hand here because they might be the last line of defense that we have against this creeping darkness.
The ACLU has sued a facial recognition firm, Clearview AI, calling it a nightmare scenario for privacy, alleging Clearview violated a well-known Illinois biometric privacy law. This is the same Illinois law that we've mentioned a few times. And actually, Facebook ran afoul of this law just for automatically tagging people in pictures that other people had uploaded. So, like, if you were friends with Bob and you uploaded some pictures from, like, a wedding or whatever, and Bob was there, and it's like, oh, Bob was there. That's against the law in Illinois.
They're a big fine, too.
Yeah. Clearview is much more invasive and insidious. So if the Facebook thing was illegal, it stands to reason the Clearview thing extra more illegal.
And
at least for the purposes of fines.
Clearview scrapes from Facebook. So they're doing literally the same thing. Should be a slam dunk in that case.
I think the fine wasn't as severe as I would have liked it to be in the Facebook case. Hopefully the egregiousness nature of the Clearview thing means the fine will be laughably large. Maybe we'll get a story out of that for the nonsense section.
Raspberry Pi started out as sort of a minimalist, hobbyist, but cheap as dirt computer, and that was sort of that's the thing. It's like, hey, just what you got $20 laying around, right? Just get one of these. It's $20 and look what you can do. But I think now they've figured out that the kind of people who buy Raspberry Pis are kind of crazy about that kind of thing. And if they just keep adding features and knocking the price up, people will still just buy them out every time.
I don't know. 8 gigs for a Raspberry Pi 4. Raspberry Pi 4 with 8 gigs of memory now on sale for $75. I've only got a chance to play with this one a little bit. This is the 4 gig model. It is a crazy amount of fun. In this configuration, it's literally powered by the Ethernet cable. Like, this is all you need. I can plug this thing in, and then I can be getting telemetry from a Linux-based computer that is not unreasonably slow.
What did that hat cost, though?
What a time! It was like $20. So this is like $55 of stuff.
Now they do point out, before you get too excited, that Raspbian is 32-bit, so that 8 gigabytes ain't gonna be useful. But there's a new 64-bit version that is in the works.
Yeah, and they've almost got booting from USB working, or USB booting from USB. It works, but it's not super well documented yet, so it's sort of a pain in the butt. But, then that does away with the whole micro SD card. Because if you don't, unless you get a super reliable micro SD card, it's a little problematic. You can also do network booting, I think. So boot from network, woo.
Something fun to do while you wait for, while one person in the household sits in the sniper's nest with a rifle to watch for the looters, you can play with the Raspberry Pi and then you switch off.
I thought you were going to say
the National Guard, whichever one happens to be in your neighborhood at that moment.
The Raspberry Pi could be used as a spotter for the...
That's true. Your camera system could be run by. Yeah, that'd be nice. You can do recognition for the police and National Guard insignias to sound an alarm. This is an amazing creation, but I feel like watching videos on a regular screen, you don't really get the effect.
No.
Because you're watching it and you're just like, well, that doesn't seem that amazing. But then you realize, oh, it's because I'm looking at it through a lesser technology. Yeah. So I would love to see one of these in person.
Looking Glass starts shipping its 8K holographic display. So it's literally a display that you look inside of. So it's thin like a flat panel TV, but it projects an image in 3D. And so the image looks 3D. It doesn't require any special glasses or anything like that. It looks like you're looking inside of the flat panel.
Now, if you're getting excited about this and you're like, when can I play CSGO? Not yet. But they did talk to a guy from NVIDIA, and he was like, oh, yeah, we're looking into this.
It'll probably show up at a trade show soon.
Yeah.
If they have any trade shows this year.
If you're wondering about the price, even the website will not tell you the price. You have to actually call them.
It's going to be a lot.
Because they don't want just any asshole calling up, and then when you say $10,000, you go running. But it's cool.
Very neat.
The what model of TI did you have?
I had a HP 48.
Oh, of course you did. I think we used the 86s, which was not affected here. Do they still make those?
Yeah.
So it's weird, like only the entry-level ones are affected by this horrible change.
Texas Instruments to make it harder to run programs on its calculators. They claim they're worried about cheating, but You know, when we were in school, they would erase your calculator. Like, they would just go and be like, clear the memory on your calculator. Because they would always ask me to, like, they would get my calculator, and they were like, you can't use this one. I was like, this calculator is literally listed in the test as being okay. And they're like, well, show me that you're erasing it. And it's like, okay.
But yeah, you could run a lot of cool stuff in programming languages on these calculators, and it's totally capable of doing it, and it's still capable of doing it. It's just turned off.
They've made it so you can't do it anymore. No.
But is this punishing the poor kids?
Yes.
It's the
yes,
83 and the 84. You just go up a model and you can go back to cheating?
Yeah, well, and on our school, like, no one could afford the calculator, so, like, the school just had a bunch of TI-84s. And
In
so,
college?
Like, this was when I was in high school.
Oh, I'm talking about college.
Yeah.
Because they just certainly did not provide them in college. You had to buy one, and those suckers were expensive. But interesting. I wonder, are there not emulators for phones?
Yes.
I guess they wouldn't let you use that in test, though, right?
No, they would never let you do that. The HP, there's a financial calculator from HP that's crazy popular, and that's one of the most popular Android apps for those kind of like emulator apps, because the HP financial calculator has like a bunch of finance functions built in, like compound interest and crap like that, and it's super easy to use.
You talked about online shopping. Now, the whole time I have not resorted to online shopping. I don't know why I'm against it, but I am. I don't like it.
Well, they definitely will substitute. Like, it's definitely a give and take, because it doesn't always work the way that it should. It's a cumbersome interface, and it's very frustrating sometimes.
The great example out of this article was it was an old woman they were interviewing, and she went online and she saw a picture of a bunch of bananas, and she was like, I would like one bunch of bananas. She got one banana.
Has online grocery shopping peaked? Most still prefer in-store. Oh yeah, this is a Bloomberg article. Yeah. So I think that it's probably going to be a balance. It's like, this talks about how it's going to come back to the stores. I think it's always going to be reduced in store. Like, some people will do the delivery, some people will just do the car pickup, because some food keeps forever, and some food you want to go like weekly to get fresh. And for the common stuff that I know that I want, I would much rather have to not think about it, so that I can focus on, you know, the stuff that is like, oh, they've got really good looking cantaloupes this week. I'll make some dish that uses cantaloupe.
But you're going to be there anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that much longer in my opinion. I don't know. Chris, what are you, a go shop or a deliver shop?
We tried doing the delivery or like the pickup, but they had, like, it kept getting pushed back for one. So, like, we ordered it and they said it would be ready by like 6 p.m. one day, and then they were like, oh, just kidding, it'll be ready by like 11 a.m. the next day. So we had that issue, and then we also had to do like a ton of substitutions. So we tried it once and then ended up switching back to just going once a month to the store.
The substitutions are a real problem, because it's like, these are the same. It's like, these are not the same.
Yeah, we don't really care too much, but every now and then it's kind of like, oh, this wasn't quite what we wanted. I mean, it's close enough and we'll use it, but...
I had to buy some stuff from Home Depot, and I went on there and I was going to like order it and have it ready to pick up. But then they were like, oh, due to the high demand, it might be tomorrow before we can get this. But it's 3 items. I went, and it tells you exactly where they are on the website. It took me 10 minutes to go get them. So I was like, oh, that's kind of dumb.
They probably just have a high number of orders.
Also, the people packing the orders at the grocery stores are driving me crazy, because they got those giant carts, and it blocks like 3/4 of the aisle.
Yeah.
So I guess there's no getting around that.
They're trying to be efficient. It's a cart that will let you
It
keep
makes sense,
3 or 4 grocery orders.
No, it's more than that. I think it's like 6 or 9. They have, it's just like all these little compartments all over it, and they're just like, you know, they're filling 6 orders. 4 of them get Doritos. So when they go to the Dorito aisle, why would you want to go more than one time? It makes sense, but it's annoying because you can't get around it. Online video streaming, still killing it because we're still stuck at home. Although, I bet the numbers have dipped sharply in metropolitan areas over the past week.
I wonder why.
CBS is doing good.
There's somebody in the analytics department that's like,
what happened?
we need to spend more on advertising. And it's like,
just get a correspondent out there, man. But a new contender has entered the arena, and it seems like maybe prematurely. I don't know.
HBO Max is live. Here's everything you need to know. The latest big league streaming service comes with a $15 a month price tag. Good Lord. And confusing upgrades for current HBO members. Yeah, so this is turning into a dumpster fire real fast. HBO Max plus Netflix plus Hulu. And now Disney is like teaming up with Hulu and ESPN. And you can get like Disney Plus and ESPN and Hulu. And so it's like the four of those, and we're already back to cable bill prices.
And one of the great things about Amazon Prime was they had all those old amazing HBO shows. They had The Wire, they had Deadwood, they had Sopranos. Gone.
All gone.
All in this garbage now.
I don't even care anymore. Just screw it. Just I don't want to watch any of your TV anymore.
Making me shiver my timbers, chat.
Yeah.
The protests were, I think, certainly law enforcement underestimated on nights 1 and 2. But by night 3, they were done with that nonsense. They brought in everything that they could, which included anti-terror tactics.
Border Patrol flies anti-terror drone over Minneapolis protesters. A Predator B drone from nearby Air Force Base makes 6 passes over protesters. Again, this is like one of the mantras. It's like, if we build it, it will absolutely be used domestically. So like we talk about all this crazy surveillance stuff. It's like, oh, this is only for foreign powers that would do us harm. Nope.
And they're totally throwing around the T word.
Yeah.
About these protests.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit scary because now we're looking at all those, like FISA and all that stuff. Totally going to start being used against Americans.
Yeah,
that's a commonplace thing.
It's going to be a thing that the NSA is straight up going to give intelligence to governors of states to be like, here, you should use this intelligence to do stuff, and it's like, this is not how this is supposed to work.
Oh, I think it is in some people's eyes. That was the beginning of the road.
Many people are so okay with it. They're just like, no, we should just do whatever we have to shut down these protests.
Well, you know what? They're smart because they are playing the race card, and there are a lot of middle-class white people who are just terrified of this situation. Like, oh God, they're out of control. They're going to kill us all. But it's not a black-white issue. It is a police-state issue. But if you've phrased it like that, then they might start to wake up a little bit. So it makes sense. The MAGA people are always going to be pro-police just because they're afraid of the alternative. And that's it.
What if they come after me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no, in terms of the police, they don't think about that at all. Until it happens, which is hilarious. If you watch those videos on YouTube, those are great. Because it's like, what? Like a Karen getting arrested?
They're shooting at me?
Yeah, those are fantastic.
It's almost like they think you're the same kind of person, because you are.
Or they don't care in the first place. They just love power. Microsoft, so journalism, getting a little bit of a boost right now, I guess. But for the most part, it's not necessarily something that you need people for anymore. Because most of it, as we saw with the Amazon story, is just regurgitated PR press releases. It's not any real news. And Microsoft is saying, you know what? When you go to the Microsoft homepage, we don't really need people anymore.
Microsoft to replace journalists with robots. That's a BBC headline. That's a little sensationalist maybe, but they're totally going to do that. It turns out that they're already using AI to help find stories and curate them, and then there's a little bit of human involvement with that, but the AI has gotten so good that they've decided they don't even need the humans to do that.
Now, they are not writing the stories.
They're just finding them.
They're curating them.
Yeah.
And deciding what goes in what order on the homepage. It's not like they're literally just letting AI, just giving it a topic and letting it go crazy, writing a story just based on what it finds on the internet. That would be insane.
Oh, wait. Baidu's AI produces news videos using just the URL. And you would think, wait, just the URL? It's like it's reading the article and doing stuff? Nope.
Yeah, it's pulling images, going to social media. It's like pulling the words out of the article, using that to do searches and cross-references, and it just writes its own narrative based on that. Pulls in the images to use. Why is this girl?
I think she's the robot.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, she's got that dead look in her eye. Why would a robot use an old typewriter?
Yeah, she's from the
You know,
future.
for authenticity's sake. For hipster.
That throws off. Like, you can't tell a robot wrote it.
See, the bad thing, though, about doing this is that the robot will not be able to tell the difference between crazy people putting crap on the internet and, like, actual real people. So when somebody writes some, like, crazy, insane conspiracy theory, the robot's going to be like, oh, I found this from searching for that thing.
Can we tell the difference? There were a lot of people who bought that Amazon story
Yeah.
and thought that was real news. So at this point, how do we even know what's real and what's for sale?
Isn't that one of the doomsday scenarios that our government outlined for, like, foreign powers wanting to disrupt things domestically, is that the AI is going to just write so many incredibly sensationalist and crazy stories that it'll, like, nobody will know what's real anymore?
Oh, I think we're there.
Oh, wait.
And the Russians will definitely get blamed for that. But we should be careful about blaming the Russians for too much, because we don't want to go to war with them. At least not if this is true.
I thought our source was interesting on this one.
Well, from the Asia Times. But this seems plausible, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine why this wouldn't work.
Russia to test Doomsday Drone in the high Arctic. And you may be thinking, Doomsday Drone, that's a little sensationalist. No, they've designed a weapon that is designed to be detonated. It's a thermonuclear weapon. It's designed to be detonated underwater, which will cause a tsunami, which will take out a coastal city.
So they got this mock-up of it here. This little guy is a nuclear device, and it's completely autonomous. It moves very quickly, and it travels very, very close to the sea floor, which, how do you fight that? And Putin was kind of laughing at the press release, and he was like, yeah, you want to shoot hypersonic missiles out of the sky? You think you can do that? What are you going to do about this? And he's kind of right.
Yeah. Don't need New York. When New York has, 50-meter high ocean waves crashing against it, that's radioactive, that's going to be not a good situation.
Japan.
Yeah.
God, poor Japan. They are helpless against this. I mean, every place has got a coastline, but Japan only has a coastline. Or Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii would just...
Bad news.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure
Sleep tight, everybody.
You're already feeling good about what's happening in the world. Just think about that.
It'll be fine.
I definitely have been having some trouble sleeping lately. I don't know why.
A lot of people have brought up your yawning on the news.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm very tired. Mentally, emotionally.
What time did you go to bed?
Last night, like 4 a.m. I've lost control over my life.
What time did you get up?
Like 12:30.
So right before the news, then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's 8 hours.
I watered my plants and.
What about your dog?
She's fine.
Has she adopted the same schedule?
She's adjusted.
That's animal abuse.
Rue loves it. She doesn't care. She's thrilled that we're home all the time.
She doesn't need sunshine.
Well, no, I mean, I still take her on walks and stuff. She's fine.
Night walks?
Well, usually during the afternoon.
All right, well, give us a... Friday will be, what have we not? Security and nonsense.
Keep calm and nonsense on.
Yeah. All right, bye.